Nothing about the street view of the Kingston police station indicates that there's anything wrong with the place. Ask anyone inside the building and you'll get a different story. The consensus is that the old building here on Main Street has outlived its usefulness. If all goes according to plan, within the next 1.5 to 2 years, they'll be in a new facility that's bigger and more accommodating. Just last May, the town put together a committee to look more deeply into the problems facing the department headquarters and what they can do to remedy the situation.
We did a tour of the complete building inside and out, came up with the conclusion that the building was not only substandard but completely inadequate for today's regulations for police station facilities.
As a town administrator and also the chief procurement officer, it falls on me to make sure that we follow the process in municipal law on the design and the building of any building in town. This building obviously is woefully inadequate for what it has to do today. The town seems to be kicking the can down the road over and over again when it comes to looking at this building. I think the time is now to really take a good look, get the designs done, and see if the town wants to go forward with building a new police station.
To find out just how woefully inadequate it was, we took a tour ourselves with the police chief. While the perspective may not be unbiased, we would at least be able to see for ourselves what the fuss was all about.
As we enter the building, you can see that it's a very small, cramped lobby space. A lot of times, the public talks to a police officer right out here because we don't have enough rooms or spaces to interview people. We really have one multi-purpose room, and if somebody's in there doing something and a second person needs to speak to a police officer, they're conducting their business here in the front lobby. And in the wintertime, this room is not even heated.
All of that, and we were only 2 feet in the doorway. As we ventured further in, we found the cramp theme to be a constant, whether it was the records room, where there was clearly not enough space for all of the files, or the dispatch room, crammed with 30-year-old equipment. And while the equipment is being upgraded, there isn't room to store the old stuff in the process. As we head down the hall to the detention room, we see that the room itself is pretty wide open, which can make it easy for the suspect to escape to another part of the building. And while the holding cells are right there, sometimes getting the suspect locked in can be an issue. Even the holding cells are in need of some updating.
There are people that come in and they look at our juvenile cells, our male cells, our female cells, and they point out our deficiencies. They tell us that we're not in violation of any law, but they point out that we have potential suicide hazards and that we need to be cognizant of those and that we're exposing ourselves to liability. This building was built in the early 80s. Computers weren't really, something that was part of police work or even considered back then as something necessary. And because there was no IT room built over the years, as technology advanced, they had to have a place to put it, and it was placed here in the basement. This basement is subject to flooding. There's sandbags in the corners because water will come in during heavy rainstorms. And here we are at the place that, you need to rely on for your 911 emergency call, where water could, affect our ability to take that call.
At this stage, it seemed the consensus had some merit, whether it was exposed wires in the basement, the cramped quarters in the 911 call center, the lack of storage space for important files. The list could seemingly go on. But where were they planning to relocate to?
We started looking for sites, and we did look at 4 or 5 different sites in town. We came up with one that is actually owned by the school district, and we are looking into that and talking to the school committee to see whether we can somehow acquire that, because one of our goals is not to actually spend money on the cost of a piece of land. I'm convinced that, and the committee is convinced, that there's land in town that we can use and save that money.
This is a process that's been going on for about 9 years in town, and it's finally coming to fruition. I don't think the townspeople want to put this off any longer due to the conditions inside and not being up to code. and there's some other issues that could put the town in some type of liability if things happen. So it's something that we've taken care of Town Hall, taken care of the senior center, and a few other buildings. It's time to now look at this building and get that up for the next 50 years.
In Kingston, I'm Brian Sullivan for In Depth.